Dust choked the air like 1,000 screaming ghosts, the metallic tang of blood mixing with the acrid bite of cordite under a moonless sky in the Hindu Kush, July 14, 2009, AU 2:37 hours. A Taliban commander, Mullah Karim, huddled in his mud-walled compound, his AK-47 slick with sweat, heart pounding as shadows detached from the cliffs above, silent as death itself. No warning burst, no megaphone demands, just the whisper of suppressed rifles slicing the night. One by one, his guards crumpled, throats blooming red, eyes frozen in eternal surprise. How? Karim's mind reeled. These weren't the fumbling infidels he'd ambushed. These were reapers who moved like smoke, predicting his every twist. By Aero 241, he was alone, breath ragged, clutching a grenade pin, whispering prayers. But the door exploded inward without a sound, and in that frozen instant, he saw them. Australians, eyes like polished obsidian, faces carved from stone, ending him not with rage, but with the calm precision of men who'd long ago traded this for vengeance. How could warriors weep for their dead brothers one moment and become monsters the next, without a flicker of doubt? This wasn't just a kill. It was a mirror the American SEALs patrolling alongside would never unsee, revealing a darkness in elite soldiers that made even the hardest operators fall silent forever. Lieutenant Commander James "Jax" Harrison gripped his M4 tighter. His Team 3 SEALs fanned out in the jagged ravine below, hearts hammering under NVGs as the Australian SAS Phantoms melted into position above. Jax had 15 years in the Suck, Fallujah, Ramadi, bin Laden's backyard. But this joint op in Uruzgan province felt off from the jump. Intel from JSOC reports painted Mullah Karim as the ghost behind 27 IEDs that had shredded convoys, including 2 Aussies last year. "He's ours," Major Daniel "Danny" Reed had said flatly, his 35-year-old frame coiled like a spring under his multicam, voice devoid of bravado. No speeches, no pep talks, just a nod. Jax's petty officer Marcus "Mark" Sullivan, the 29-year-old sniper who'd lost his twin brother to a suicide vest in '07, clocked it immediately. Reed's eyes held the same buried fury Mark drowned in whiskey stateside. "These blokes don't blink," Mark muttered over comms, scope trained on the ridgeline. From Karim's sentry's vantage, scraped from their blood-spattered diaries later seized by intel teams, the night patrol unfolded like a nightmare scripted by Jinn. Private Omar, 22, peered into the void from his overwatch post, the wind howling lost through the peaks. He'd bragged that morning about the infidel dogs they'd bleed dry, but now doubt gnawed. No chatter on their radios, no diesel rumble of Humvees, just an unnatural quiet, broken by the faintest crunch of Omar's finger whitened on the trigger, sweat stinging his eyes. These weren't SEALs with their door-kicking theatric. These were SAS, the ones Afghans whispered killed villages without trace. His radio crackled. "Ghosts on the wire! Abort!" Too late. A suppressed burst from 200 meters painted his chest plate red. He slumped, gurgling, as Sergeant Tom Matthews, 32 and second in command, ghosted past, face a mask of controlled. Tom had buried 2 mates from the '07 Baluchi op. His diarist would later note he slept with a knife after, dreaming of payback. No hesitation, pure emotion forged into a scalpel. Contrast that with the old ways. American fire teams, brutal hammers pounding nails, QRFs roaring in with Apaches lighting the sky, turning compounds to rubble. Effective, sure, but wasteful. Civilians vaporized, intel ash. The SAS? Surgical ghosts. Danny Reed's playbook, per declassified ATO diaries, read like poetry of predation. Infiltrate silent, exploit shadows, exfil before the echo fade. Jax watched from below as Corporal Jimmy Anderson, the 24-year-old rook, flanked left. First real tango for her after-action psyche valves. Jimmy's breath was steady on comms, but his grip on the C8 carbine betrayed the tremor. Up close, through Karim's final, frantic breaths, captured in a survivor's coerced testimony, the Aussies loomed. Reed suppressed F-88 leveling center mass. No warning shot, no hands up. Tom's follow-up to the writhing guards, double taps, methodical as clockwork. "Clear!" Danny's voice, ice over the net. The SEALs froze in the ravine, Mark's scope fogging from his exhale. They'd run 100 HVT raids, but this? No ROE dance, no second chances, just termination. Jax keyed his mic, voice low. "Reed, confirm tango down?" Silence, then Danny. "Affirm. Perimeter secure, moving to exfil." No triumph, no fist pumps. The air hung heavy with copper and finality. Mark lowered his rifle, spotting Jimmy Anderson dragging a body into the shadows. Kid's face pale under grease paint, but hands steady as he zip-tied intel pouches. From Omar's diary fragment, they feel no Allah's mercy, only the devil's arithmetic. SEALs had always prided their controlled chaos. Psych evals post-op showed 80% compartmentalized rage through PT and bruise. But these Aussies? They'd internalized loss into something purer, deadlier. Jax felt it first, a chill that his own vaunted professionalism was play-acting next to this void. As the teams linked up at the LZ, rotors thumping distant Blackhawks, no one spoke of the ghosts they'd become accomplices to. Mark caught Tom's eye, mirror images of grief weaponized. Jax clapped Danny's shoulder, words dying on his lips. The patrol was textbook success. HVT neutralized, 0 casualty, cash seized. But in the helo's red glow, questions festered unspoken. How does a man lose everything and emerge not broken, but unbreakable? What line had these Aussies crossed that Jax's SEALs still towed? The silence seeded deeper than the Hindu Kush's graves, a pact forged in blood that night. And as dawn clawed the horizon, streaking the peaks crimson, the first fracture appeared, not in orders, but in souls. Blackhawk rotors thrashed the thin mountain air like vengeful spirits. Downwash whipping dust devils across the LZ at 0312 hours, July 14, 2009. Jax Harrison's boots sank into the scree as he hauled ass up the slope, his SEALs double timing with rucks heavy from seized AKs, RPGs, and blood-crusted intel binders. Mullah Karim's ledger of death, 27 IEDs tallied, 2 Aussie ghosts from '07 etched in faded ink. Danny Reed was already there, silhouetted against the chopper's ramp light, methodically stripping his F-88, suppressor steaming faintly. No gear checks barked, no high fives. Tom Matthews flanked him, wiping gore from his kukri with a rag, eyes scanning the ridgeline like a hawk scenting blood. Jimmy Anderson, the kid, lagged last, dragging a headless sentry's satchel, face slick with sweat but jaw set. Psych reports from Canberra later noted his cortisol flatlined post-op, anomaly among rooks. From the fringes of Karim's shattered network, interrogations leaked in JSOC redacted files. A surviving runner, Abdul, had bolted into goat trails at the first suppressed cough, heart slamming like a trapped goat. Huddled in a cleft hours later, he scribbled in a prayer book, "The Australians do not war, they harvest. No Allah's thunder, no battle cry, just the end, written before you." Abdul's fear mirrored the old Taliban playbook. Ambush the noisy Americans with RPG choirs and suicide choirs, watch them call in hellfire symphonies, hammers to nails, craters birthing more martyrs. But SAS? Needles through veins. Danny Reed's after-action in A Squadron logs described it clinical. Infill 0215, neutralized sentries vector 180, HVT terminated 0241, exfil clean, no adjectives, no glory. Jax boarded last, sliding onto the nylon bench beside Mark Sullivan, whose sniper nest had ghosted the op from 800 meters. No shots fired, just witness. The helo banked hard into Uruzgan's spines, clawing below like blackened teeth, cabin pulsing red under NVG blackout. Jax's mind replayed the compound breach. No flashbangs shattering eardrums, no dynamic entries splintering doors. Reed had peeled the mud wall like an onion, C8 whispering through the gap. Karim's grenade hand severed mid-pull, thumb twitching on the dirt like a dying spider. Tom's double tap to the chest followed, bloom of crimson misting the air, no flinch. Jax had seen SEALs pause once, twice, ROE checklists flickering in the chaos. Had he? Mark leaned in, breath hot over the rotor din. Jax, those bastards. It's like they parked their souls at the border. Mark's twin, gutted by a vest in Hellman's '07, haunted his stateside VA evals, rage metrics off charts, funneled into 1,000-yard group. But Tom's eyes? Same blaze, forged colder. No therapy circles for these Aussies. Loss was fuel, not fracture. Contrast the grind. SEAL Bud S. Hellweeks built unbreakable wills through surf torture and log PT, channeling fury into team anthem. The only easy day was yesterday. Effective for door kickers, but leaks. Post-op leaks of bravado tales in bars, psyches cracking under endless tour. SAS selection, per-leaked SASR psych dossiers, 21-day jungle suffocation in the Brecon beacons. No sleep, no mercy. emerging not heroes, but voids. Danny Reed, 35 tours deep, had penned in a '08 diary fragment seized from a forward base. Lost Mick and Blue to Belushi wire. Buried them dry-eyed. Next stop, 3 tangos less. Equation balances. Jack shifted, feeling Reed's gaze across the cabin. Polished obsidian, appraising. "Good work, Commander," Danny said finally, voice cutting the thrum like a blade. Jax nodded, throat dry. Textbook. Lie. His textbook had chapters on restraint. Reed's was a single page. End. Jimmy Anderson slumped opposite Mark, kid's hands still flexing from the zip ties. First kill steaming off him like heat haze. Declassified evals tagged him green, 24. East Timor vet minimal. But tonight? He'd flanked the last guard, C8 barking once into the neck, body folding like wet paper. No vomit, no shakes. Mark clocked it, mirror to his own baptism. Brother's vest shreds raining confetti. First Taliban head popped months later. "You good, mate?" Mark risked, Aussie slang slipping. Jimmy met his eyes, faint smile cracking grease paint. "Always, cobber." "You?" The word hung, unspoken. Had Mark's rage ever burned this pure? Tom's laugh barked low from the shadows. "Kid's a natural. Like burying mates teaches geometry, geometry of death." Jax's gut twisted. His own losses, Ramadi rooftop, Oro 4, fueled PT beasts, not this Arctic calm. Fob Tanner loomed at 0450, floodlight stabbing the pre-dawn murk like accusatory fingers. Teams spilled out, medics swarming for vitals, pulse steady across the board. Aussie sub 70 BPM, SEALs spiking 95 plus, debrief in the talk tent. PowerPoint ghosts flickering Mullah Karim's mug, killcam grainy but irrefutable. HVT down, cash haul gold. Jack's brief. Voice autopilot. Danny added metrics. 4 sentries, 2 guards primary, 0 non-coms. Questions died unspoken. Why no surrender offer? Why the severed hand left twitching? Intel officer scribbled furiously, but Jax caught Mark's glance at the door, where Tom Matthews sharpened his kukri by lamplight, blade singing soft. From Abdul's runner testimony, smuggled to ISI handlers. Infidels argue mercy, these demons computed away. As the sun hemorrhaged over the peaks, coffee bitter in tin mugs, the fracture widened. Jax cornered Danny by the Humvee. "Your boys, no hesitation." Reed's eyes didn't waver. "Hesitation killed my mates. Yours?" Jax walked away, words ash. Mark shadowed Jimmy at the ammo dump. "First one's a bitch." Kid shrugged. "Not when it's for Tomo's ghosts. Ghosts plural." The SEALs clustered later, Jax's hooch thick with Copenhagen spit and silence. "They're us, but—" Mark trailed. Jax cut, but hollow. No more words. The patrol's echo wasn't victory. It was the mirror's verdict. SEAL professionalism a mask over storm. SAS the storm unchained. In JSOC psych annexes, Jax's evals spiked PTSD markers post-op, unlogged. The talking stopped there, not from orders, but recognition. Some warriors honored the dead with thunder, others with the silence of graves already dug. And in that LZ dawn, the SEALs glimpsed their own potential voids staring back. Sunlight clawed through the Fob Tanner razor wire at 0630 hours, July 14, 2009, turning the dust into a shimmering haze that stung eyes raw from no sleep. In the TOC annex, a captured Taliban cell phone, seized from Mullah Karim's cache, vibrated once before Jax Harrison smashed it under his screen spiderwebbing like the commander's last breath. Danny Reed watched from the doorway, coffee mug steaming in his fist, expression unchanging as Jax rifled through Karim's blood-flecked ledger. Dates scrawled in Pashto, 27 IED blasts mapped, 2 Australian names circled in red, Mick Hargrove and Blue Delaney, vaporized in Belushi Pass, 07. "Bastard planned it for months," Jax growled, but his voice cracked on the edge, eyes flicking. "How?" The ledger's final entry, translated by a bleary CIA contractor. "Infidel reapers come silent. No mercy equation." Reed didn't blink, just nodded once, turning to the kill cam footage looping on the monitor. Grainy green ghosts peeling Karim's door. Thumb severed mid-grenade, Tom's kukri flashing incidental. From the shadows of Uruzgan's surviving networks, interrogation transcripts declassified in 2017 JSOC vaults, a low-level fixer named Rahim had pieced the horror from runner whispers. His own notebook smudged with fear sweat. Mullah's compound fell not to bombs, but to men who breathed the night. No shouts of Allahu Akbar answered, only the click of ghosts reloading. Rahim's paranoia mirrored the old insurgency grind. Bury IEDs in goat paths, lure convoys into kill boxes. Watch American hammers summon drone swarms that leveled villages, birthing endless recruits. Carnage by volume, hundreds dead for one HVT. SAS flipped the board, precision voids, one bullet per soul, exfil before crows circled. Danny Reed's A Squadron eval, buried in Canberra archives, quantified it. Lost Delta, 2 mates. Response vector, +4 tangos neutralized per cycle, sustainable. No poetry, just math. Jack slammed the ledger shut, feeling Reed's gaze like a scope dot. Did the Aussie see the same fractures in him? Tom Matthews sharpened his kukri in the ammo bunker shade, sparks dancing off the edge like fireflies from hell, while Mark Sullivan leaned against a HESCO wall, feigning ammo count. Mark's scope had framed the op from afar. No trigger pull, but the replay burned. Jimmy Anderson's C8 barking into the guard's neck, body folding without echo. "Your kid's got ice," Mark said low, Aussie twang creeping in. Tom paused, blade testing thumb, bloodless. Jimmy buried his dad to Taliban shrapnel in Timor. Learns quick, hesitation's a luxury for the living. Tom's voice was gravel, eyes distant. Per leaked SASR psych logs, he'd logged 0 rem post-Baluchi, dreaming awake of payback tallies. Mark swallowed. His twin's vest confetti still haunted his crosshairs. Rage funneled into Bud-S perfect scores, but always a tremor under fire. Seals compartmentalized, rage to reps, bruise, brass balls tails. SAS internalized, lost to ledger lines, souls subtracted clean. Contrast the forge. American spec ops brewed in Coronado surf, team rituals forging bonds through shared torment. Hell Night chants echoing "Who Dares" wins borrowed from Brits, but amplified with Stars and Stripes thunder. Dropout rate 75%, survivors unbreakable, until tours stacked like IED core. Aussie SASR? Ferntree Gully selection, per redacted dossier. 21 days Brecon Beacon's hell, no food, hallucinations called weakling. Emerging 10% voids, emotion cauterized. Jimmy Anderson slumped nearby, stripping his C8 with machine rhythm. First kills residue under nails. "You see it, yeah?" he muttered to Mark, voice boyish under the... Mark nodded slow. "Your CO, Reed. He's what I could have been if Hellman took more than my blood." Jimmy's laugh was sharp. Danny lost 3 patrols worth. Doesn't rage, redirects. Redirects to reap. Jax overheard from the talk flap, gut nodding. His Ramadi ghosts fueled dawn runs, not this null state. By 1100, under a blistering sun turning rifles to ovens, the team shared MREs in the mess tent, silence thick as goat cur. Jax tore into Chilimac, eyes on Danny across the plastic table. Reed chewed methodically, ledger open beside his plate, tallying Kareem's network ghosts. "Your ROE, looser?" Jax probed finally, words lead. Danny's fork paused. ROE's a suggestion when mate's tags hang empty. Tom's kukri lay sheathed at his belt, faint blood crust flaking. Psych evals noted his cortisol flat post-kill. Seal spikes tripled. Mark pushed beans around. "We call it controlled chaos." "You?" Jimmy piped. "Chaos is for hammers. We thread needles." Raheem's fixer notebook, cross-referenced in Intel brief. "Demons compute kills like merchants. No waste of life." Afternoon heat wave hit 120 F. Mirages dancing off Humvee hood as Jax pulled Mark into the Sark tent for debrief. "They're not monsters," Mark hissed. "Drip IV saline from Phantom A. They're us purified. My brother's shreds. I pop heads clean now, but Reed, he'd sleep through judgment." Jax rubbed stubble. Saw his eyes on Kareem's twitch. No flicker. JSOC annexes later flagged it. Seal post-op cortisol averages 120 BPM sustained. SAS sub 80, voids operational. Danny cornered Tom outside. "Seal's glancing funny." Tom spat. "They're seeing mirrors. Good. Keeps them sharp." Jimmy trailed, eyes wide. First dirt on boots, first soul ledger entry. Eval noted, moral elasticity observed, adaptive. As shadows stretched long over Fob Tanner at 1700, a distant RPG pop echoed from patrols. Routine. But inside Jax's, the fracture deepened. Mark sketched twin ghosts in notebook margins. Jax stared at Kareem's thumb photo. Reed's team vanished to their lines. No goodbyes. From Raheem's final scribble, before drone tag, "Infidels fracture now. Witness the harvest, question their seed." Seals didn't talk. Words failed the void. Jax felt it bone deep. Professionalism a veil over. SAS the storm incarnate. Emotion pure, discipline divine. The patrol's silence wasn't awe, it was awakening, lines crossed in blood knotting. And as Muezzin wailed distant, the SEALs glimpsed voids not just in Aussies, but beckoning from within. Muezzin's wail clawed into the velvet dusk at 1830 hours, July 14, 2009. Fob Tanner's floodlights carving harsh geometries across the gravel, where Jax Harrison nursed a warm Gatorade by the heat, eyes tracing the SAS tent lines, flickering with lantern glow. Danny Reed emerged, sleeves rolled, forearms corded with veins like rifle barrels, carrying a satchel of Kareem's decrypted SIM cards, 27 IED plots unpacked, 2 Aussie tags from Baluchi Pass screaming priority. Jax's gut soured. He'd seen SEALs crack safes post-Ramadi, spilling brags over. But Reed, auditing death like a CPA, no tremor. From Rahim, the fixer's smuggled notebook, seized 2 days later in a drone-tagged cave. The silent reapers tally our names before prayer. Their American shadows now whisper fears to each other. Rahim's dread echoed the Taliban's crumbling calculus. Mass graves from Hellfire Symphony, recruiting from rubble. SAS inverted it, scalpel slices, networks hemorrhaging intel drop by drop. Mark Sullivan ghosted up, camel dangling unlit, his sniper log open to a blank page where Kareem's thumb twitch looped it. Jax, Reed's got Jimmy running sims already. Kid's first kill and he's coaching flanks. Mark's voice cracked faint. His twin's helm and vest had birthed 50 confirmed Taliban pops, rage etched in 1,000-yard group, but always chased by VA whiskey ghosts. SEAL Forge, Bud S. Log PT pounding fury into Anthem, 75% washout yielding thunder gods, until endless rotations frayed seams, psyches leaking in Coronado bars. Aussie SASR, Brecon Beacon's crucibles, per 2012 leaked dossier, 21 days no man's land, hallucinations pruning souls to stubs, 10% yield, emotion ledgered null. Tom Matthews materialized beside Jimmy at the mock-up range, 50 meters out, kukri sheathed, but hands demoing silent breaches, kid mirroring flawless. See the void? Tom growled low, per post-op audio scraped from range mics. Jimmy nodded, C8 cycling dummy rounds. Like Dad's Timor dust, clears the noise. Jax cornered Danny by the fuel bladders, shadows pooling like spilled blood, rotors idling distant. Your ledger, Baluchi ghosts, hesitation off the table now? Reed's obsidian eyes held Jax's, unflinching faint scar from '07 puckering his jaw. Mick and Blue didn't hesitate on us. Equation closed. Danny's a squadron diary fragment, redacted in Canberra vaults. Loss input, mates zeroed, output cycles sustained. No debt, no poetry, just parity. Jax recoiled inward. His Ramadi rooftop trio, '04, fueled dawn beasts and silver stars, restraint a badge. But Reed's void? Lost transmuted, not tamed. Across the compound, Mark shadowed Tom at the ammo revetment, crates groaning under 5.56 bandolier. Your blade work on that sentry, clean as my brother's tag's post vest. Tom's laugh was dry shale. Kukris for reminders. Yours died messy, mine teach precision. Mark's scope memory flared. Twins confetti raining, first revenge headshot months later, tremor lingering. Tom, psych logs flat. 0 PTSD flags, sleep knife clutched but unbroken. Contrast the tempests. American Spec Ops brood chaos symphony. Door kick ballets with flashbang crescendos. QRF thunder turning night to napalm. Effective but echoes birthing jihadi playlist. SAS, shadow sonatas, suppressed whispers composing finales before notes hit. Jimmy Anderson, grease paint flaking under arc lamps, stripped his kit beside Mark's perch. First kills residue black under nails. Cobbers like you SEALs yell hoo-ah. We just do. Kids eval, declassified 2018. Moral threshold adaptive post-HVT. Elasticity noted. Mark felt the mirror crack. His rage, bottled in PT circuits, versus Jimmy's baptismal calm. Rahim's notebook coda before his phobie dragnet. Americans fracture under Reaper gaze. Question if their thunder masks fear of silence. Night deepened to 2130. Stars pricking the Hindu Kush like bullet holes. Mess tent emptying to hooch murmurs. Jax's Team 3 clustered in the Sark Annex. IV drips humming. Copenhagen spits arcing into sand buckets. Reed's eyes on Kareem. No soul flicker, Jax muttered, replaying the severed thumb spasm. Mark sketched twin phantoms in his log margins. They're what we bury deep. Pure fuel, no burn. Petty Officer Ramirez, Ramadi vet, spat. Our chaos saves civs. ROE chains us human. But doubt seated. JSOC annexes post-op flagged SEAL cortisol sustained 110 BPM. SAS sub 75. Operational voids. Danny's team vanished to their lines. No war stories swapped. No bruise cracked. Tom's kukri sang soft in the dark, sharpening ritual. Jimmy shadow-boxed flanks solo. By 23:30, under a meteor streak slashing the void, Jax keyed sat phone to JSOC. Perfunctory. Op green, HVT zeroed, cache platinum. No details on the silence. Mark cornered Jimmy at the piss tubes. That neck shot. Felt nothing? Kid zipped, eyes steady. Felt Mick and Blue closing book. You? Mark walked away, twins shreds whispering. From Raheem's final whisper to ISI handlers intercepted, harvest witnessed, infidel brothers now carry reaper seeds, seals bunked heavy, dreams churning, Jax's Ramadi ghosts raging unchecked, Mark's crosshairs trembling pure. Reed's void wasn't absence, it was completion, emotion distilled to diamond hardness. Dawn's first bleed hovered at 0400, but sleep evaded. Jack stared at the tent flap, Reed's ledger echo, sustainable cycles. The fracture wasn't tactical, it was existential. Seals thundered honor through restraint. SAS whispered it through erasure. Talking died not from gag orders, but the mirror's truth. Some lines crossed forged gods, others voids. And in Fob Tanner's hush, the seals felt beckoned, silence their first surrender. Dawn's crimson talons raked Fob Tanner's perimeter at 0430 hours, July 15, 2009. Turning the razor wire into barbed veins, pulsing under floodlight glare. As Jax Harrison shoved through his hooch flap, boots crunching frost-kissed gravel toward the Blackhawk pads, where Danny Reed's SASR flight prepped for dust-off to a forward OP in Helmand. Jax's eyes burned raw. No rack time. Kareem's severed thumb twitching in endless loop. Reed's ledger mantra, sustainable cycles, gnawing like shrapnel. From Raheem, the fix's final intercepted ramblings funneled through ISI pipelines into JSOC Blackbook. Reapers depart as silently as they harvest. Their American echoes left hollow, tallying their own ghosts. Raheem's terror scripted the Taliban's unraveling map. IED symphonies yielding mass pyres. Jihadi anthems from the ashes. SAS. Equation assassins. 1HVT. Networks collapsing like domino void. Intel blooming from the silence. Mark Sullivan trailed Jax, sniper hood pulled low, his logbook clutched like a confessional, blank pages screaming for tallies that now felt juvenile next to Tom's kukri etchings. "Their wheels up in 10, Mark muttered, spotting Jimmy Anderson humping rucks to the ramp. C8 slung easy, first kill residue scrubbed but aura intact. SEAL Psych annexes, declassified 2021, flagged Mark's post-op. Grief vectors destabilized. Mirror identification with allied OP4 unresolved. Mark's twin shreds from Helmand 07 had forged a rage beat. Buds perfect, 50 Taliban scalps, but always chased by bottle ghosts. Restraint a chain. Tom Matthews loomed by the bird, finalizing Bergens, blade sheathed, but presence carving air. "Your scope babysat good, Yank?" Tom grunted, Aussie gravel polite but probing. Mark met the gaze. "Saw your future in it. Mine too." Tom's scar-twisted smile. "Futures ain't written till ledgers close." Contrast the crucibles one last time. Coronado's surf-pounded hell weeks hammered seals into thunderclaps. Shared torment birthing hoo-ah chorus. Dropout forges yielding 25% gods of chaos. Psyches armored but fraying under tour stacks. Barroom leaks birthing fragtail. SASR Brecon beacons infernos. Per 2015 redacted evals. 21-day sensory voids. No rations. Mind-pruning hallucinations culling to 8% specters, emotion not conquered, but cauterized into carbon steel. Danny Reed boarded last, satchel of Kareem's sim ghosts slung cross-body, pausing at Jax's approach. "Ledger balanced, your cash haul feeds the next cycle." Jax's throat tightened, Ramadi 04 rooftop trio flashing, losses channeled to silver stars, Dawn PT marathons, ROE badges pinned proud. But Reed's void? Bellucci 07 mates zeroed. Output 4 tangos per op. Sleep knife gripped, but unbroken. "Your equation? Scares the shit out of discipline," Jax forced out, voice raw. Danny's obsidian locked. "Discipline's the scarecrow. We burn the field." Jax watched the ramp whine hydraulic, rotors spooling to cyclone fury, downwash flaying tents like banshee. Jimmy flashed a thumbs up to Mark. Boy turned blade, Timor Dad's dust transmuted overnight. Tom clapped Danny's shoulder, duo vanishing into the black maw. No salutes, no see ya in the suck. The helo clawed skyward at Eero 452, shrinking to a stinger dot against the Hindu Kush's jagged throat, Uruzgan fading under its shadow. Jax and Mark stood rooted, dust devils mourning their wake. Petty Officer Ramirez sidled up, Ramadi ink fresh on his arms. Talk about it? Mark spat Copenhagen. Nothing to say. Mirrors don't lie. JSOC after actions buried the op under textbook grief, but psych riders whispered fractures. SEAL cortisol lingered 105 BPM baseline for weeks. SAS metrics flatlined operational zen. Days blurred to week's end. Fob Tanner's rhythm grinding on. Patrols thumping out. RPG tracers arcing night replies. But the SEAL hooches thickened with hush. Jax poured Kareem's ledger solo. Fingers tracing Mick and Blue's circled ghosts, realizing his professionalism was theater. Storm leashed by ROE scripts, thunder masked as honor. Mark's crosshairs wandered in qualls, twins vest confetti overlaying Tom's kukri flash, future glimpsed, averted or beckoned. Team 3's bruise soured wordless. Ramirez sketched voids in MRE trash, unspoken. From a final Rahim echo, drone fried in his cave. Silent harvest seeds silence in the thundering brothers. They question thunder's worth. Intel briefs tallied ripple. Kareem's cell hemorrhaged runners. SAS whispers amplifying the void. Months later, back stateside Coronado Sands, Jax's evals spiked uncharted. Existential dissonance post-allied integrate. No bar tales of the patrol. Just nods when Aussie embeds route. Mark married quiet. Twins shadow ledgered private. Scopes truer but colder. The teams crossed paths in Ramadi 11, Helmand 12. Joint ops flawless, but eye contact carried the Hindu Kush echo. Recognition of lines crossed asymmetric. SEALs honored fallen with roars restrained. SAS with erasures absolute. Emotion pure under discipline's diamond sheath. Years distilled it timeless. In war's forge, elite warriors diverge not in valor, but alchemy. Some channel lost to tempests chained, saving souls at scale's cost. Others distill it to scalpels unyielding, harvesting efficiency from grief's core. The SEALs stopped talking because the patrol unveiled not superiority, but shadows within. The scariest elite isn't the thunder god, but the void that whispers, you could be me. And in that mirror's unblinking verdict, silence became strategy's sharpest weapon.